From sneaking out of the hostel at night, helping satisfy each other's urge, to even using hard drugs to terminate pregnancies. You won't believe the crazy and fetish things that happen in this girls only boarding school in one small African town. And this is why you must always check on your children regularly, especially those in boarding schools. Here's what happened. In Goodness College, all the students looked up to Anita. She was the perfect senior girl. Her uniform was always clean, her hair was always neat, and her smile was as bright as the morning sun. Teachers loved her, and students admired her. During the day, Anita seemed like the kind of girl every parent would want their child to be. But when the night came, Anita was a completely different person. She had a secret life that no one knew about. When the hostel lights went off and everyone else was deep in sleep, Anita would quietly get up from her bed. She moved like a cat, careful not to make a sound. She reached under her mattress and pulled out a small bag. Inside were clothes very different from the school uniform. Shiny, colorful clothes that sparkled like the stars. Anita tiptoed to the back of the hostel, where the tall fence stood like a silent guard. With one swift move, she climbed over the fence, her small bag slung over her shoulder. On the other side, she would change into her fancy clothes. The simple schoolgirl transformed into someone else entirely, looking like she belonged to the big city. Every night, she went to parties. There the music was loud, and the lights danced in many colors. Anita laughed, danced, and had the time of her life. By 5 a.m., just as the birds began to sing, she was back at the hostel. She climbed the fence again, changed back into her uniform, and slipped into bed before anyone woke up. To her classmates and teachers, Anita was an angel. No one suspected that at night she lived a life full of secrets. If only they knew, Anita whispered to herself one morning as she folded her shiny dress and hid it under her mattress. Her double life continued, like a stream flowing quietly in the shadows. One night, Anita was at a party that glittered like stars in the sky. The music boomed and the air smelled of expensive drinks and perfumes. While dancing, she met a lady with sharp eyes and a sly smile. The woman leaned close and whispered, "You could make much more money, you know. Just bring a few more girls with you. Men will pay for them and everyone goes home happy." Anita's ears perked up like a cat hearing a mouse. The idea sounded sweet, like honey dripping from a comb. She thought about it, nodding slowly. Who should I start with, she wondered. Then it hit her. Toshi. Toshi was a quiet junior student with a sad look in her eyes. Her parents never visited her on visiting days, and they didn't send her money or foodstuff. She always ate the school's small portions, and sometimes she even went to bed hungry. Anita knew Toshi's struggle and decided to use it to her advantage. The next day, Anita cornered Toshi near the hostel. Her voice was as sweet as sugar. "Toshi, I've noticed you've been managing," she began. "What if I told you there's a way to make money and live better?" Toshi's eyes lit up, curious. "What do I have to do?" she asked softly. "Just follow me tonight," Anita said. "I'll take care of everything. You'll make enough money to buy good food and anything else you need." Toshi hesitated, her heart beating fast like a drum. But the thought of having money to eat better meals tempted her. Finally, she nodded. "I'll go," she said. That night, when everyone was asleep, Anita woke Toshi and handed her a small bag. They sneaked out, just like Anita always did, and climbed the fence. Once outside, Anita gave Toshi a dress that shimmered like the morning dew. Toshi looked at the dress, unsure, but Anita urged her to wear it. When they arrived at the party, Toshi's eyes widened. The room was alive with lights, music, and laughter. Everything felt strange and exciting. A man approached smiling at Toshi. Anita whispered, "Go with him. You'll be fine." Toshi, nervous but trusting Anita, followed the man. Hours later, he returned her with some money in her hand. Anita smiled as they headed back to the hostel, sneaking in just before dawn. The next morning, Toshi was tired in class, her eyes heavy like stones, but her pocket was full. When Anita shared the money with her, Toshi felt a mix of happiness and guilt. It's not so bad, she thought. From that day, Toshi became part of Anita's secret world, and the game had only just begun. Toshi couldn't stop smiling. The money she earned from sneaking out with Anita felt like magic in her hands. She bought extra food, snacks, and even a few nice things for herself. It was like a new world had opened up, and soon her excitement became hard to hide. One day, while they sat behind the hostel, Toshi whispered to Simi, her classmate, about her newfound secret. "You can make a lot of money, Simi," she said, her voice low but teasing. "You just need to come with me and Anita." Word spread like wildfire. One by one, girls started approaching Anita, asking if they could join her. Anita smiled slyly, knowing her little group was growing. She picked only the prettiest and the most daring. By the end of the week, her crew had grown to 6 girls, each one eager to sneak out at night and return before dawn. With more girls, Anita needed to keep things organized. "We can't get caught," she said, her voice firm as she addressed the group. "Everyone must follow my rules. If you mess up, we're all in trouble." The first rule was to smuggle phones into the hostel. The girls hid them in their lockers, under mattresses, and even inside their shoes. They used these phones to chat with the men they met at the parties and arrange their secret meetups. But soon, something unexpected happened. One of the girls, Temi, missed her period. Her heart pounded with fear as she told Anita. "I think I'm pregnant," she whispered, tears in her eyes. Anita, calm as ever, shrugged. "Don't worry," she said. "I know a chemist who can fix it." That night, Anita snuck out, not to a party, but to meet a chemist who was part of the scheme. He handed her a small packet of pills. "Tell her to rest for a few days," the man said, "and make sure no one finds out." Anita returned and gave the pills to Temi, who stayed in the hostel the next day, pretending to be sick. By the 3rd day, Temi was back on her feet, as if nothing had happened. This became their routine. Whenever a girl got pregnant, Anita would visit the chemist, get the pills, and keep things quiet. The girls continued sneaking out, dancing the night away, and returning to the hostel with money in their pockets. Anita controlled everything, like the captain of a secret ship sailing through dangerous waters. The girls trusted her completely, but little did they know that the path they were on was like a road paved with thorns, hidden under soft petals. For now, the secret group thrived, but trouble was waiting just around the corner. In the school was a beautiful, innocent girl named Ugo. Ugo was the kind of student everyone admired. She was brilliant, focused, and had earned a scholarship to Goodness College through her hard work. Her parents, who came from a humble background, had one piece of advice before she left for school: stay focused, avoid trouble, and make us proud. For a while, Ugo did just that. She stayed away from drama and always sat in the front row during lessons. But everything changed when she met Simi and Eni, some of Anita's close friends and partners in crime. Simi and Annie were the exact opposite of Ugo. Their parents were wealthy, and they lived like queens in the hostel. They wore expensive clothes, bought snacks whenever they wanted, and carried the latest phones. Ugo couldn't help but admire their lives, even though she knew their behavior wasn't the best. One afternoon, Simi approached Ugo with her usual confident smirk. Ugo, why do you always sit here with these boring girls? Come hang out with us, she said. At first, Ugo hesitated. She had heard stories about Simi and Annie, and her friends had warned her. But the way Simi spoke, with her smooth words and charming smile, made Ugo feel special. Before long, she started spending time with them. One evening, Simi said, "We're sneaking out tonight. There's a party at this cool club, and you're coming with us." Ugo's eyes widened. "No, I can't do that. What if we get caught?" Annie rolled her eyes. "Caught by who? Everyone does it, Ugo. Don't be such a baby. Besides, don't you want to have some fun for once?" After a lot of pressure, Ugo finally gave in. That night, when the hostel was quiet, she followed Anita, Simi, and Ini as they snuck out. They handed her a short, flashy dress and a phone. Ugo looked at it, unsure. "This is too much," she said. "It's too short." Simi laughed. "Do you want to go looking like a grandma? Wear it or stay behind?" Reluctantly, Ugo put on the dress and they climbed the fence together. The club was loud and packed with people. Ugo felt out of place, but Simi and Annie moved around like they owned the place. While Ugo sat nervously at the bar, a man approached her. He was tall, confident, and had a smooth voice. "Hi, beautiful," he said. "What's your name?" Ugo looked away shyly. "I don't talk to strangers," she said. The man smiled. "I'm Sam, and I'd like to be your friend." Ugo didn't know how to respond, so she stayed quiet. Before he left, Sam slipped her a piece of paper with his number. "Call me," he said with a wink. The next morning back at the hostel, Simi and Annie teased Ugo about Sam. "Do you even know who he is?" Simi said. "He's rich. He can buy you anything you want." Ugo shook her head. "I don't need anything from him." But Simi and Annie wouldn't stop. They painted pictures of luxury, of a life where Ugo wouldn't have to struggle anymore. Slowly, their words began to sink in. One day, Ugo picked up her phone and dialed Sam's number. From that day, Ugo started sneaking out regularly with Simi and Annie. She met Sam often, and he showered her with compliments and gifts. But as her nights grew longer, her grades began to suffer. The once brilliant Ugo now struggled to stay awake in class, and her books gathered dust. She didn't realize it, but she was walking down a dangerous path, one step at a time. One sunny afternoon, as Ugo sat in the hostel trying to study, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Sam. "It's my birthday this weekend. I want you and your friends to come. I'll send a car to pick you up." Simi squealed with excitement when Ugo told her. "Do you know what that means?" "His house is probably a palace," she said, clapping her hands. Annie chimed in. "We have to look our best. This is our chance to meet other rich men." Ugo felt uneasy, but didn't want to disappoint her friends. That weekend, they sneaked out as usual. A sleek, shiny car was waiting for them outside the school fence. The driver smiled and opened the door, and they were whisked away like princesses to Sam's house. When they arrived, Ugo's jaw dropped. The mansion was massive, with sparkling lights and music so loud it seemed to shake the earth. The party was in full swing, with people laughing, drinking, and dancing everywhere. Sam welcomed them with open arms. "You look beautiful," he said, his eyes fixed on Ugo. She felt a strange flutter in her chest but quickly pushed it away. As the party continued, Sam pulled Ugo aside and handed her a stunning gown. It glittered like 1,000 stars. I bought this just for you, he said. Ugo smiled shyly. Thank you, she said. But then Sam's tone changed. You know, I've been very kind to you, Ugo, he said softly. I think it's time you show me how much you appreciate me. Come with me to my room. Ugo froze. Her mind raced and her heart pounded. I can't do that, she said, stepping back. Sam frowned. Why not? Don't you love me? I've given you so much. Ugo's voice trembled. I made a promise. I won't give my body to any man until my wedding night. Sam's face darkened. Promises don't mean anything here, he said. You're mine tonight. Before Ugo could react, Sam grabbed her wrist and dragged her upstairs to his room. She begged and pleaded, her voice breaking like a fragile pot. Please, don't do this, she cried. My sister died trying to end a pregnancy. I can't go down that road. But Sam didn't listen. He locked the door and forced himself on her. Ugo's screams were drowned by the booming music outside. When it was over, she lay on the bed, broken and betrayed. Sam left her there and went back to the party as if nothing had happened. Ugo, trembling, put on the beautiful gown he had given her. It was the only thing she had to cover herself. When she came downstairs, Simi noticed the gown immediately. Wow, Ugo, you look amazing, she said, not noticing the pain in Ugo's eyes or the way her legs shook with every step. Please, take me back to the hostel, Ugo whispered, tears streaming down her face. Simi and Eni finally agreed. They sneaked back into the hostel just before dawn. In the safety of her bed, Ugo wept silently, her tears soaking her pillow. Her life had changed forever, and the betrayal she felt weighed on her heart like a stone. Weeks later, Ugo began feeling sick. She woke up nauseous, weak, and dizzy. One of her close friends noticed her symptoms and said quietly, "You should take a test." Her heart pounded as she borrowed a pregnancy test kit from a senior girl. The result was clear, and it felt like the ground had opened beneath her feet. She was pregnant. Ugo sat on her bed, holding her head in her hands, her mind spinning like a whirlwind. She thought of her parents, the dreams they had for her, and her sister, who had died trying to end a pregnancy. The weight of her situation pressed on her chest like a heavy rock. Desperate, she confided in Anita. "I'm pregnant," she whispered, her voice shaking. Anita, calm and unfazed, shrugged. "It's no big deal," she said, pulling out the familiar packet of pills. "Take this and you'll be fine. Everyone does it." But Ugo froze. Memories of her older sister flooded her mind. The sister who had tried to end a pregnancy and paid the ultimate price. Ugo had watched her parents bury her sister, their tears falling like rain on dry soil. "I can't," Ugo said firmly, her voice shaking. "I won't take it." Anita's face hardened. "Suit yourself," she said coldly, "but don't expect me to help you when things get worse." Ugo sat on her bed, tears streaming down her face. She was trapped, alone, and unsure of what to do. The weight of her decision pressed on her like a boulder, and she knew her life would never be the same. Ugo's decision not to take the abortion drug spread through the group like wildfire. The girls, who once laughed and danced with her, now whispered and snickered behind her back. Simi rolled her eyes whenever she walked by. "So holy and yet so foolish," she muttered to Eni one evening. Anita was harsher. "You think you're better than us?" she said with a sneer. Suit yourself, but don't come crying when you can't handle it. Ugo felt their words cut into her like sharp blades. The nights in the hostel became colder and lonelier. The group, once her escape from the harsh realities of her life, had turned its back on her. Every glance from the other girls felt like a judgment, every whispered laugh like a dagger. Desperate and scared, Ugo decided to call Sam. She sat on her bed, clutching the phone with trembling hands. Maybe he'll help, she whispered to herself. Desperate for support, she tried to reach out to Sam. She called him, her hands trembling as she held the phone. "Hello, Sam," she said softly. "Who is this?" His voice came, cold and distant. "It's me, Ugo," she said. "I'm pregnant." There was silence on the other end. Then Sam's voice cut through like a sharp blade. "That's not my problem. Go find the father of your child and leave me alone." Ugo gasped. "Sam, you were the only one." But the call ended, and when she tried to call back, her number was blocked. The betrayal hit her harder than anything else. She sat on her bed, tears streaming down her face, but she wiped them away with trembling hands. "I'll keep this baby," she thought. "Even if it ruins my life, I won't make the same mistake my sister did." From that moment, Ugo resolved to face the storm ahead. Her path would be hard, and she knew the shame would follow her like a shadow. But she refused to take the easy way out. She would carry her child, no matter what the world thought of her. One afternoon during a particularly hot lecture, Ugo felt a wave of dizziness. Her vision blurred, and the room seemed to spin. Before she could call for help, she collapsed onto her desk. The commotion in the class was immediate. "Ugo has fainted," someone shouted as the teacher rushed to her side. She was carried to the school clinic where the nurse examined her. It didn't take long for the truth to come out. The nurse looked at her sternly. "You're pregnant," she said bluntly. "How far along are you?" Ugo burst into tears. The weight of her secret was too much to bear. The nurse, understanding the gravity of the situation, informed the principal. Soon, the news reached her parents. Immediately, the principal called an emergency meeting. "Ugo, tell me how this happened," the principal said, her voice stern but full of concern. Ugo, trembling and afraid, confessed everything. She told them about sneaking out, the parties, the secret group, and how Anita controlled everything. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she spoke, but she didn't hold anything back. The principal's face darkened with anger. She summoned Anita, Toshi, and the other girls involved. One by one, their stories unraveled. The truth hit the school like a thunderstorm. Phones were confiscated, and the chemist who had been supplying abortion drugs was exposed. Within days, the police arrested the chemist and Sam, the man who had ruined so many lives. Anita, the once perfect senior girl, was expelled along with Toshi and the others. Their parents were called, and the shame was unbearable. Ugo's parents arrived at the school the next day, their faces pale with worry and disappointment. Her mother's eyes filled with tears as she hugged Ugo tightly. "Why didn't you tell us?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "We could have helped you." Ugo sat quietly, her head bowed. She had made her choice to keep her child, but the road ahead was uncertain. The walls of her secret life had crumbled, leaving her exposed to the harsh reality of her decisions. Months later, Ugo gave birth to a baby girl. The child was beautiful, but Ugo's life would never be the same. The scandal forced her to leave Goodness College. She couldn't finish her education, and the dreams she once had seemed far away. She stayed with her parents, raising her child and reflecting on the choices that had led her to this point. The whispers from neighbors and the looks of pity in people's eyes were like needles pricking her heart. But Ugo held her head high, determined to give her child a better life. Anita, once the star of the school, lost everything. Her reputation was destroyed and her future dimmed. No one looked up to her anymore. She lived in the shadows of her mistakes, a reminder that even the brightest stars can fall. The school became stricter. The hostel was monitored closely, and sneaking out became nearly impossible. Phones were banned completely, and students were given regular talks about the dangers of bad company. Ugo's story became a lesson for generations of students. Her courage in keeping her baby and the pain she endured served as a powerful warning. Though life was hard, Ugo learned to be stronger. She carried the weight of her past, but used it to build a future for her child. And in her heart, she vowed never to forget the lessons she had learned. The importance of making wise decisions and choosing friends carefully. Ugo's life became a story told not in shame, but in strength. A tale of mistakes, redemption, and the power of resilience. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, comment what you learned from the tale, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more enchanting tales just like this one. Thank you.